Welcome to the Purpose to Create podcast with Natasha Wright, a business podcast for photographers and creativepreneurs who want to level up as they pursue their purpose to create. Lean in as we connect, inspire, and impact you as you build and grow your business.
I'm so hyped that you're here and listening to today's show. Today's guest is Sugar Taylor, a DC-based multimedia designer and the creative director of Taylor & Hove, a planning and branding firm, in addition to sister company Sugar Taylor Company, which focuses on interior design and custom products such as laser cut and clay earrings. Sugar is a Bronx, New York native and has overcome family ills such as drug addiction and homelessness and turned to art as her escape. In today's episode, we're chatting all about turning your trauma into triumph. Hey, Sugar, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
I'm super excited to have you on the show today, so we're just going to jump right into it. So I want to know a little bit more about Sugar and what made you become a creative, because to me, you're a creative maven and you are multifaceted, multi-talented, multimedia creative. So I want to dig a little bit into the highlight version of your creative highlight reel.
Wow.
Yes.
Where to begin, darling? Where to begin? Well, first of all, I feel like if you're a creative, you're born that way, and
Yeah.
It's just about what ignites that first fire, And for me, I'm told that ever since I was like 1 or 2 years old, my mother used to buy tiny little beads and like a sharp needle and worry everybody because she'd be like, she can put it together. Go ahead, put it together. And I would make people necklaces and bracelets at like age 1 or 2. And it was like a phenomenon because they were like, how is she not poking herself with this needle? So I think my fine motor skills were honed in by my mother. And that developed obviously into various forms of art for me over the years. And I've just never put myself in a box, I would say. Over the years, I've just tried everything I wanted to try. Self-taught in all of the Adobe Creative Suite programs that I use. Self-taught in painting. Although in high school, I did have a teacher take special interest in me for some reason. And one day I was in her class goofing off as usual. And she was like, I want you to come back for lunch. And I'm like, why would I come back in this art room for lunch? Are you crazy? I'm socializing at lunch. I don't know what you're doing. So I went back into her room and she made me do a portrait of myself. Over like the next 4 or 5 weeks, she kept making me erase it and start over and do this portrait of myself. And I was like, why are you doing this? She was like, because you have a talent. You have a talent for this. And I really need you to like focus on it. And I wish I had a picture of it, but it was a very hyper realistic portrait of myself that I was able to produce. And I wish I remembered her name, but like she sparked that first, wow, I can do fine art within me, So that's kind of how like it all started.
Okay. That sounds real cute. But today we're talking about turning tragedy into triumph.
Yes. Okay.
So let's get into it. Let's talk about it.
Okay. So I can honestly say part of the reason why I'm able to do multiple things creatively is because I grew up in a very strange way. Okay. I grew up in New York in the 80s and I was born in 84. Let me not make it sound like I was old enough to enjoy the 80s.
Okay. I was born in 82. We can celebrate it.
Right. And my mother was this like spiritually grounded, hyper creative woman who fell in love with a bad guy who happened to be my father. And he cheated on her and gave her HIV. And after he discovered that he'd given my mother HIV, she obviously like started doing drugs and, got really heavy into doing drugs. She'd always been a bit of a drug user. He killed himself in the hospital after my brother was born with it. That's how they found out that they had in fact had HIV. And after his suicide, my grandfather came and fought for custody of me and my sister that's 4 years older than me. So we went to live with him in Pennsylvania. And then he tried for a while and then he gave me to an aunt. And I had gone from complete lawlessness of New York, like doing what I want, eating what I want, saying what I want to whoever I wanted to. Just complete freedom because my mother was a drug addict, to this Christian, strict, ask before you open my refrigerator, ask before you watch TV household. So I was the ultimate rule breaker because I was like, no, you will not conform me. You're not my mother. And I spent, due to my disobedience, like an extreme amount of time by myself in my room because she would always put me on punishment for like long periods of time. And in that solitude, I kind of had to self-assess, like process what I'd been through, process my mother's abandonment, my father's suicide, my brother's death, because he was only the year or two younger than me. And throughout that, I remember like training myself to sing. Like I can sing very well, acting out like entire scenes of movies in the mirror, like a crazy person. I would draw these crazy pictures and make up these elaborate, like 150-page stories. And I mastered a lot of different creative elements in that space of being in my solitude and facing those issues. And as I grew older, time goes on, lived with different people and, a lot of different things happened. But I always escaped into my art. And there was a period in my life where I was homeless. And that was right after this angel teacher taught me how to do my own portrait. And I started painting portraits for people to make money so I didn't have to be homeless. And then I flipped that into working 3 jobs and getting my first apartment. And I never looked back to that, since then. But even when I had like a regular 9-to-5 job, my husband one day was just like, dude, this is not you. Like you are meant to be free doing your art. Like just take a year to explore what you want to do. And I was like, well, for anyone to take me seriously, I need to go to college. I never had that opportunity to go to college. And I want to be an art director. He's like, calm down. I'm going to be a graphic designer. I was like, I want to be an art director. So I went to Corcoran College of Art and Design for like a year, hated it. I'm not a formal education type. I don't learn the same way other people learn. They actually thought I had some type of learning disability when I was younger because I can only learn by doing. I can only learn by seeing. I could only digest math if I saw it in colors and shapes. That's just how my brain works. So college wasn't for me, but then I made like fondant cakes for like a year.
Really?
Some of them were really cool. Like I did a pretty good job at that, but I was like, wait, 15 hours, one cake, and people don't want to pay me more than $200. You're crazy. So let's just say I dropped that notion because I was like, this is not scalable. And I don't like baking that much to be in a kitchen for 15 hours. But it was fun. I saw a show of somebody making cakes. I was like, I can try that. I think that's my Achilles heel is that I love to try and immerse myself in a new form of art. It's like a high for me. But throughout all of this flim-flamming, I definitely was teaching myself graphic design. So after I felt like comfortable with that, that's when I decided to do invitations. And I was like, oh, I could do like custom stationery. And my wedding came and went, and some people started asking me to do like planning. And I was like, no. Nah. But I had recently met Nar Hovnanian through a mutual friend, and I liked her energy. And she was like this highly educated, like corporate planner, but she had such a cool personality. So I was like, I wonder if she would want to do the planning while I do the design, because I want to do like the floral design and the stationery design and like really make a handmade, like artisan experience for my couples. Whereas I don't want to have to deal with contracts.
Yeah.
So that's how she and I partnered up and started Taylor and Hove back in 2010.
Oh, nice.
And we haven't looked back. I mean, we've become best friends. We've grown our company to where we're comfortable to have it running and still explore things we want to do on the side, which has always been the goal.
Yeah.
So throughout that process, we started doing branding and on top of the weddings, and obviously doing more corporate because that's where her background was. Okay. So we have a nice, well-rounded niche of services that we offer now. But as an artist, I feel very free over the last like 2 years because I've been able to do, well, it's been a lot longer than 2 years with the interior design, but like marrying that with like the branding has been fun for me because I can tell a story from like A to Z for a small company. And that to me is like, I thrive on that energy. Like, wow, this was nothing. And now it's like something crazy.
Right, exactly. And the way that you are able to conceptualize things and bring them to life is just like, wow. One of my favorite weddings that you and Hove have done is, I think it was a CYK wedding.
Oh, CMYK. Yeah.
CMYK wedding. I was like, wow. You guys are so brilliant. That's amazing. But no, it was everything. The way you guys think and bring things to life is definitely very different and unique. And that's what I love about your company.
Thank you. And I think it's weird because I'm a very private person, even though I like, I'm an extroverted introvert. I know we've all heard of that. And over the last like few years, someone said to me, you need to tell your story because I don't think a lot of people know that all of your creativity comes from a dark place. And I mean, I'm still struggling with, after my mother finally passed away from AIDS related complications when I was 19.
Okay.
And it's crazy because she told me she had HIV when I was like 12. So from like 4 to 12, I had no clue. I just thought she was a crackhead, and I remember treating her as such. Like, walk close to me, my friends are coming, like go across the street, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I've forgiven myself.
Especially back in the 80s, you know what I mean?
This is the 90s.
Oh, the 90s.
Like the late 90s.
Yeah.
Mid to late 90s. And I was friends with all the drug dealers, so I didn't want them seeing my mother asking for money and I don't know, but who she was as a spiritual being has always and continues to shape me as a woman. And I say that because she knew she wasn't going to be around. So she dropped some of the most amazing gems on me. Like at 12, if I liked a boy, she would say something so profound, like, let me tell you something. Always let a man love you a little more than you love him. And I'd be like, what? I love him forever, ever.
Forever, ever?
Forever. And then when I got older, it clicked and I was like, oh. So you can't control how much you love somebody, but you can control how much you act on that love, how much of yourself you give away, how vulnerable you become, And obviously I've now found someone I can be limitlessly vulnerable with, but for a long time that protected me from men that would probably have preyed on me or people who weren't worthy of me, because I was always analyzing, like, are you worthy of me? So she put a lot of beautiful things in my mind despite her circumstances. And I take that with me. I try to impart that on my children now that they're becoming young women. I owe my creativity to her and several hours of punishment and being a badass child.
That will always do it. They'll always do it. So are your kids a creative genius like you too, or are they starting to find their creative spark?
Thank you. Not a creative genius.
I think you are. I don't care what anybody says.
Thank you. It's weird. My 11-year-old can sing the way I used to be able to sing when I was her age. And I still sing, but she can sing very well. And she's all about art. Like she's asking me tonight, can I paint that pot that I made? Because she made some clay pot. And then the other one is decorating her room. So she's obsessed with design. And I'm like, wow, I think they see me doing it all the time. I'm never just sitting around in front of the television. I'm painting while there's something on television, or they always see me involved in some type of art. So it naturally rubs off on them, and I believe they definitely have the innate talent. So I'm trying to hone in on what they want to pursue, but hopefully they're like me and they try a little bit of everything over the next few years and figure out what makes them happy.
Yeah. And so I think I saw that you guys also have a family business too with the cuts. Was it a Tribe Called Cut?
Tribe Called Cut Laser. Yeah. So my stepson is 21 and he has epilepsy. So he at one point had a seizure at a really inopportune time. And if he would have been at work that day, he probably would have been driving. So then, obviously we were like, this is a great job for you, but maybe you should consider doing something from home. And he's like, well, what am I going to do from home? I don't want to just be behind a computer. So we started Cut Laser. We got the big industrial laser cutting machine, and he's been managing that. And then we have Tanisha now on board managing all of the projects from start to finish pretty much. But yeah, we started that because of his epilepsy.
Oh, yeah. It's really awesome. If you guys have an opportunity to check it out, I usually do this at the end, but tell us where we can find a Tribe Called Cut.
You can find a Tribe Called Cut on Instagram at a Tribe Called Cut, or you can find on the internet cutlaser.com. K-U-T, not C-U-T, K-U-T.
Awesome. Yeah. It's phenomenal work. I absolutely love it. I can't wait for an opportunity to be able to utilize it in my space. So
yeah, whatever you need. I've even been using it for my interior design projects. I do these laser cut wall tiles. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of like wall tiles, but they're 3D from the wall because they're made out of wood. And then you paint them the same color as the wall so that you have this, these shapes on the wall.
Yeah.
I haven't even really been pushing those, but I'm like, these could be fun to see in different spaces, however people want to use them. So.
All right. Well, you heard it here. I'm going to hold you accountable now.
I'll get it out there.
This show is about accountability too. I hold a lot of people accountable. All right. I want to see more of it. So let's talk about some things that inspire you. And I know that, it it can be a lot of things, but I want to know what inspires Sugar.
On a daily basis, it's hard to say because, I think as creatives, everyone can probably admit that they go through like deep feelings of inadequacy and depression. And I go through that quite often, feeling like what I'm putting out there is horrible and only a half an artist because I'm not fully formally trained. I go through all of that stuff. And throughout that, like, I would say my saving grace is my belief and total understanding that everything will work out in the end, no matter what. So I find inspiration in like the smallest things. If I wake up and the sun is shining, I'm like, okay, I can't let today be a bad day. It's beautiful. Who wants to be, like if I was dead, I wouldn't be able to enjoy this. So shut up, swallow it, and figure out what you're going to do today. So I try not to think of anything lofty to inspire me. I try to literally just like take everything day by day. If I wake up and the water by my bed is still cold, I'm like, isn't that, it's going to be a good day. The water is still cold.
The simple joys of life.
The simple joys of life. They inspire me. I would definitely say that.
No, I love that, that you really take time to enjoy the moment and really being present. Being a creative, sometimes we have 1,000 tabs open in our mind and we're like off to the next thing and trying to work on this thing and all this. But, you said something very valuable to all creatives. And I think we should all take a note out of your notebook is that, we really need to just slow down and really enjoy the simple pleasures of life. I think that from there, that's where creativity is sparked when you just slow down a little bit.
Oh yeah. If you're too busy, and I fell into that trap of like, oh, I'm so busy. I don't have time. I'm, like I have all these projects going and I want this and that. And I had to stop and pause and say, what's the root of that? Where the heck is that coming from? This need to do. So you'll see, like, I take hiatuses, and I mean long hiatuses from social media. Like, I don't care. I will lose 1,000 followers if I gain one iota of peace of mind and a little time to work on something I'm passionate about. And I try not to fall into that. I'm so busy. I have no time for this thing because I'm like, am I chasing money here? Like, why am I so busy?
Right.
And yes, obviously as a business owner, there are going to be pockets where you're busy. Like there've been times when we don't have, like one of our staff members will leave or something. And it's like, oh my God, now we have to do that work on top of, and I've fallen into that. It was like, I haven't responded to this email in 3 days because I'm one human being and I can't because all of the emails I need to respond to may take me a few hours of work to give them those answers. I try to take the pressure off myself.
Yeah.
By scheduling my time where I'm like, okay, on Mondays, maybe I'll start my work at 6 p.m. and I will work until 10 p.m. and have the day to enjoy it, go to the lake with the kids. Then the next day I'll work in the morning and then I'm off at 4 so I can enjoy my family. And I have to create those pockets so that I can have enough fuel to be creative to deliver on the projects I'm working on. Because during those I'm so busy times, some of my worst like things I wasn't proud of went out. Because I was just trying to get it done in the name of like, this is due on Tuesday. Let me hurry up and like shove it into the weekend. And then I lose my weekend and deliver something I'm not happy with. So now I'm kind of like, hey, this is my process. And if you don't like it, don't hire me.
Right, exactly.
I will get it done by the deadline, but maybe this proof will take until Thursday because I really want to think about what I'm sending you. I want to think of something innovative to do with this invitation. I don't want to just be like, okay, you like this font, you like these colors. Because what's going to happen is Sugar's going to get bored.
No, that's real dope. I really like that. So let's talk a little bit more about your social media hiatus. So you mentioned that you like to take long breaks. So why do you, as a creative, do you not feel a need to be plugged into social media, or what's your thought process behind that?
Oh, heavens, no, I don't. I think that we all fall into the comparison trap. And you can look and be happy for someone's success, but it still makes you feel like, because naturally as humans, we compare ourselves, right? So you're like, oh man, they're doing this and they have that many followers. And I feel like it's unhealthy spiritually for me, especially. So I love to look and comment and like enjoy it in those moments. And then I need to step back because I'm in the real world during those times. I don't know if you know, but there's like this phenomenon going on right now, right? Where in like Florida, these baby sea turtles are being born. And instead of going toward the stars and going toward the ocean, they're going toward the city on the other side. and they're trying to cross this highway and they're getting like smashed to death. And it's like killing the population. And I feel like that's what social media is to us right now, right? People are looking toward the city lights and the glitz and the glam and the assumed success and adulation that they see other people getting on social media. And they are mistaking that for the stars of the universe, which is on the other side, you know? And that is spiritual growth, enjoying the moment, being truly joyful in life and being grateful for what you have. Because I can tell you right now, all I say at night is thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm embarrassed to even ask God for anything because I'm like, I'm good. Thank you. Please bless this person and this person and this person. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I deserve the joy and happiness I feel in my life with my family and stuff, you know? So don't mistake the city lights for the stars. Enjoy life, pull back sometimes, and truly connect with the humans around you and not just liking and commenting and falling into that trap. Because I feel like there's going to be a lot of empty, spiritually dead people in the future if everybody's just focused on being popular. And even the people who are just like pushing spirituality on social media, like you meet them in person and they're vapid. And I'm like, what the hell? Are you just like reposting quotes, you know?
Right.
So like falling into that trap is easy, but avoidable if you can pull back. And so yes, I definitely take breaks. I don't feel any need to post every day to get my likes and my follow. If whoever's going to find me and follow me is going to find me and follow me. I do a lot of interacting. I do have a social media person that does all the interactions and make sure that it's, you know, we're growing, but I don't let any of that pressure of showing off and posting everything that's happening in my life get to me because it's not healthy.
No, that's so real. And I agree. I think, you know, a lot of times we miss the human connection.
Mm-hmm.
So focused on spending. And I am one who does this too, is that I mindlessly scroll on social media. I just find myself doing it. And I too have to pull back and have to make sure that, and I'll take long social media breaks too. Like, I'll be gone for 30 days in no time. Like, yeah, this is a distraction. Let me focus on this, or let me focus more on in-person interaction and really genuinely getting to know somebody outside of social media, because that's where the most meaningful relationships begin to grow offline.
Agreed. And it's weird because I manage social media accounts for some of my branding clients. So while I have to pull back on my own accounts sometimes, I still have to be on there for their accounts. So I'm able to compartmentalize. I'm able to put myself in my mindset of like, okay, right now I'm posting on behalf of this company and I'm happy and I'm talking about this and that. And then I completely ignore my page.
Right.
And my husband, spending time and talking with him about his music podcast, which is freaking amazing.
Oh, wait, drop it. What is it? What is it?
Sound Advice.
Okay.
It's so good because we met and connected and fell in love over music, and like his uncanny ability to find hot music that nobody knows about. he's a genius. So like, I'm not just saying that because he's my husband. I listen to his podcast, but spending time with him is more important than being on social media. So when I'm in my bed, I'm trying very hard not to like be looking at my phone, and that old me that did that all the time is like evolving into a woman who knows how to like shut it off and pay attention. Because I don't want to plan weddings and have a crappy marriage.
Right, exactly. What good use is that?
Exactly.
Because people fall into that trap too.
Yeah, absolutely. They, you know, have a amazing person next to them and they're just living this social life that's not connected with reality.
Yeah. You really have to really reevaluate what's important to you. And being on social media is great if that's where your business comes from. But if you're just scrolling like I do all the time, I really have to pull myself back because I really have to focus on what's really important is my family, my friends, my business, and cultivating new relationships.
Yep. It's the most important thing now, because I think that's going to be our generational challenge.
Right. No, that's real. All I keep thinking about right now is the baby turtles. I don't want
am I a baby turtle going towards
I think I'm a baby turtle right now. I'm in between, city lights and starlight. But I want to be going towards the starlight and cultivating genuine relationships. So thanks for sharing that analogy. I really am now thinking about baby turtles.
Go Google it.
Go Google about the baby turtles. But no, thanks for sharing that. That was really insightful. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so it's really important for me to hop back on because it was something very important I forgot to ask you. And I wanted to know, when was the moment that you realized that you didn't have to go down a particular path?
That's a good question. And it's funny, I just realized what this pivotal moment was now. It's funny how much reflection on your life you do in your 30s, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I'm halfway to death. What did I do so far?
What are you doing with your life?
I know. So there was this one time. Okay, so during the time when I was homeless, of course, I think negativity, I know for a fact, sorry, negativity attracts negative spirits, right? And I was in a low place. My mother was basically on her deathbed, and I was attracting unseemly, unsavory characters. And there was this one guy who was like, oh, I know you don't have a place to stay right now, because I was actually like staying with one of the girls I was in a singing group with. And we had just got back from our tour. We were on a singing tour with this old singing group. And when we got back, she introduced me to this friend of hers. And he was like, oh, if you don't have a place to stay, I have a mansion. People in Atlanta are always like, I got this mansion. So I was young. I was only 18, 19. And I was intrigued. I was like, oh, okay. Like, her friend is a good guy. Like, so I went up there and he took us out. He took us with like 8 girls out to this strippers club, to this dancing club. Look, I'm so old. I'm like, to the stripper club.
To the strippers club.
Nudie dancing.
To the gentleman's club. Shaking a tail feather.
Shaking a tail feather. So we went there, and that was my first time in a strip club. So I was extremely uncomfortable. And then he starts talking to me and the girls. He's like, yeah, can't y'all see yourselves out there doing this? And that's when I realized this dude might be a pimp. So I was like, man, I grew up in the Bronx. I am not falling for the okie doke. Yeah, okay. So I told him, I said, look, I'm not the stripper type. I never will be. I'm too shy with my body. Like, stop talking about it. Let's just have a good time. That's when I started watching my drinks. Like, I don't trust you.
Yeah.
So I was like, but let me get a few $100s and I'll double it for you next time you bring me here. He was like, what? He was like, well, why would I give you money when you can get up there and like show me what you got, and you can make your own money. You can make twice that. You can make twice. And I was like, look, I know a better way, and I'll flip your money. Just give it to me. I'm going to give you back your money double. So he gave me a few $100. I borrowed my friend's car, and I went to Walmart, and I got a bunch of bathing suits, and I bought sequins, and I bought like fringe and tassels and all types of like, stuff to glue on these bathing suits. And I made these crazy little stripper costumes. So I went back with another friend of mine to that same club. And the same girls, some of the girls in that group of 8, like, were at this point dancing at the club or whatever. And I sold them those outfits. So I doubled his money, gave him his money back. And then I had some money in my pocket. And that's when I realized, I was like, wow, I don't have to do those type of things. There's nothing wrong with the women who do those things, but I'm not one of them. And I'm okay with using my creative talent to get ahead in life, because that paid a bill, So from then on, I made like cute little outfits, and I would go in the back and sell them to the girls. So like, that's the time I was almost a stripper, and I was like, wait,
I can create you something instead.
I can make money off of y'all. But it was fun. I actually made some cool connections with some of those women. You just never know what somebody's going through or has been through in life that leads them down a path, or
right.
Even temporarily, to get where they need to go. So that's when I realized I could use my art.
I love it. I mean, I'm just so inspired by you. I think that, you being able to be open and, like you said, share more of your story is just even more exciting to now watch you create after knowing and learning more about you. To see that it comes from a different place. It's beautiful to watch unfold.
Thank you.
So there are many layers to you. And so I want to peel back another layer.
Okay.
So we talked about some tragedies, but I want to talk about some triumphs in your life that really took your creativity to another level.
I don't see myself as being on some high creative level. I just see myself as someone who does my art to overcome like my inner demons, and someone who does it because I love it.
Yeah.
So it just feels like a current tide that's always flowing. It doesn't necessarily feel like something that has peaked here and gone down here and peaked. It's just like, am I dipping into the pool this week or am I not dipping into the pool this week? That's kind of what it feels like for me. So I will say that like, it's been so ingrained in who I am for so long that I don't really feel the times when it ebbs and flows. I kind of just like work through those times with my art.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense.
But like, I remember when I gave birth to my oldest daughter, I was like, wow. That's when life hits you when you have a kid and you're like, oh my God, there's somebody to provide for now. Like I was literally homeless the year before I had her. So it was very like scary for me. And I think that's when I turned it all the way on. Like I went and got some job I wasn't qualified for because I just like talked my way into the interview because it was just like, I need this. I can't make minimum wage. I can't see myself doing that because I'm bougie. Like, I don't want to be on welfare longer than I need to be on welfare, right? So, like, and I was on welfare at the time, you know, and I was like, this is not the legacy I want to pass on. How do I get out of this? Because in my life, the people in my family who are on welfare have always been on welfare. They've always been operating from a place of immediate need. And I was definitely afraid of that. That's when I feel like I turned it on in a professional sense. And I was like, what can I do? Because I know I'm not, my favorite employer ever said, you are the most unemployable person I've ever met. He's like, it's like, I want to capitalize on your genius and your ability to solve problems and tell me what other people are afraid to say because you just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
He was like, but I know I'm not going to be able to keep you for long. And he was like, no one will. He was like, in fact, if you ever start a business and you need an investment, please call me. And I was like, what? Like this educated white guy said that to me? I was like, what? I didn't even see myself in that way, you know? So I don't know. I turned it on at that point and I just haven't looked back.
I can definitely relate to that. And so I will share something that I never really share with anybody. And so I feel like, you know, I'm about to be a little bit vulnerable. So I'm talking to you, you'll be able to relate because you've gone through this. So, you know, I can relate on so many levels because when I was growing up and I was born in 82 and my dad cheated on my mother, and due to him cheating and his infidelity, he had, you know, left my mom and, you know, started another family, which left me and my mother and my brother homeless. And so we were homeless for a while. We had to be on welfare and things like that. And that kind of being homeless for a while, for a few years and going from shelter to shelter and really having to hustle at a really early age, which is why it's so instilled in me now that I always have to grind and hustle hard and not give up and be afraid to fail, be afraid to try new things. And if it doesn't work, because in my mind, I'm like, I will never go back to that place where I'm homeless and living in a shelter and not having nothing to eat and sleeping on the street and doing all these things and not really, which is why I have a strained relationship with my family now to this day, is because, you know, when you think family is supposed to be there for you at your lowest point, they're not. And so there's a level of vulnerability when you go through something like that growing up. It really changes the way that you think. And so my dad, he was an artist. And so my creativity comes from my father. He did sculptures and he was a painter and a sculptor and did all of those things. And so the mind of a creative, when you go through something, you know, so tragic growing up, you remember that and you use that as your fuel to create.
Mm-hmm. If you do it wisely, right? You have a lot of people that fall into they go the opposite way, right?
Yeah.
They fall into the self-pity trap. They never quite pull themselves out of that lifestyle and they stay there forever. And you just look at them like,
bro, come on. What are you doing?
You know, and it's funny because when it's in your family like that.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, let me say, it's always like, you know, people often ask me, do you regret, you know, do you wish your mom was still alive? Of course I wish my mother was still alive. But do I regret having a crackhead mother? Do I regret ever like being homeless and like being through some of the situations I've been in? No, I don't, because I don't think I would have the grit that I have now as a woman and as a mother. And just my and I'm sure you can attest to this, but like being homeless and going through, it makes you so aware of life, of people around you, right? Like I'm the type of person that can be in a restaurant and tell you who was sitting in what booth, because I'm constantly watching my back to make sure there's nothing going down,
Right. Where are all the exits? I'm going to make sure I'm still with my back, not facing the door.
Exactly. And my friends used to tease me because if we went to the club, I was like, all right, dance over to the exit. I was always sober, making sure they didn't put their drinks down. I was just aware of things that could go wrong. But that snowballed into what's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
And especially after my mother died, that's when my anxiety, like panic attacks triggered. Like I could be in a crowd, and I stopped singing right after she died. And I was like on a path to have a real career. But I was afraid of people looking at me. Like being on a stage gave me all of a sudden, like my stomach would drop out of like, it was just an eerie feeling because I would never experienced stage fright. So, that awareness that can come from those things everything can turn into a negative or a positive. So just about how you take the wheels and turn them to make things work for your life. And people who've actually had to hustle. Yeah. It's not a cute saying on a mug. It's like, I've been to the place where we had to wait to see if there was food coming, or I've stolen groceries. I've filled up entire grocery carts and walked out of the store like I paid for it because there was no other way to eat. Yeah. Stole, uniforms for school because I only had one outfit to wear to school. One, because we had a uniform. That's right. I mean, unless you've been there, like unless you know what that type of wow, I may not have dinner, I may not have a roof over my head, I may not have lights on, then you don't know what hustling really is, and it is just a cute saying on a mug.
Right, exactly. It's more than that. It takes a whole lot more to hustle.
Yeah, and I don't want to hustle. I want to be comfortable in life. I want to feel like the hard work I do is paying off. The people who hire me appreciate my work, whether they know my backstory or not. Like I said, me telling my story is new because I usually just try to kill it with my design work. And I don't care what people know about me.
Exactly. I never really share my story either. And just because for what? Like, why?
Right.
But I mean, I get it.
Somebody else out there right now is like, wow, I went through that in life too. Maybe they haven't quite grasped how powerful that struggle really is.
Yeah, exactly.
Turning it around.
I mean, and then when you share it, you really get to learn that other people go through similar things. Right. And sometimes we hold things in and think that we're the only one who goes through it and feel like our story is not, I don't know, maybe it can help someone else help them through whatever they're going through. But you don't really see the powerful impact your story has until you really say something.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah.
And also it's, I've never been to a real therapist except when I was a kid and they told me I had all types of learning disabilities. But as an adult, I never went to a therapist and was like, here's what I've been through. So to tell people, I feel like I learned something new about myself when I'm talking about it. I'm like, oh, I never, this whole desire to tell people my story came from a conversation with my husband. I will post something on Instagram and the number one comment I get is, wow, how do you do so many things? And my husband was like, why do you think people say that? And I'm like, I don't know. And he was like, well, where does all your creativity come from?
Yeah.
And I was like, God. He was like, where else did your creativity come from? God. What do you think? And I was like, wow, I think. And that's when we started talking about all the time I spent on punishment with my strict aunt and how that turned into, snowballed into me being creative. And I think all the adversity turned me into someone who could think through problems and situations quickly. And that's essential as a business owner. So that combination of having a natural business mind and a hustler mentality,
right,
and the creativity, is part of the reason why I'm on my way to being successful. And I'm willing to embrace that now. Whereas before I'd be like, oh, I'm okay. I'm
right.
I'm a powerful being. I'm a powerful spiritual being. And my journey is not materialistic. It's not superficial. It's coming from a place deep within. I'm trying to find out what my true destiny is on this earth,
Yeah.
Through my art.
You're doing it so well. And so I want to go back a little bit because you mentioned something and I'm just very curious because I know that as creatives, we all deal with inner demons. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I don't hear a lot about is how do you deal with, for you, not speaking of creatives in a whole, but as a creative, how do you deal with your inner demons? Because I know that it's very real. I deal with them too. For me, a lot of it is really a lot of prayer and just really taking a step back and unplugging and really dealing with issues that, again, I feel like everything always go back to your childhood. Everything always is rooted in your childhood. But if you don't deal with those issues, then it really could really stop you from being the creative that you were purposed to be if you don't deal with those things. So I want to know from you, how do you deal with your own inner demons?
I'm still working through that. And part of that is communication, because I was always the type of person where I always felt like, even if I tell people how I feel, no one cares, like that's how I secretly thought in my mind. No one really gives a crap about how I feel. But being able to express myself is healing to me. So whereas, Sugar 10 years ago would be like, all right, well, I'll let her get away with saying that. Now, I'm like, wait, what'd you say? But not in like in a I want to fight type of way, but in a very like, let's talk about this. Because obviously, like if it's like a friend or something, you didn't mean to hurt me. You didn't mean to say something demeaning, right?
Right.
So let's talk about this. Let's like address this. And so me fighting that inner demon of like fear and fear of judgment or being ignored or left. I'm fighting that by saying, I'm going to say what I need to say as long as I'm not being hurtful to anybody and speak my truth. And whoever's left when the dust settles is meant to be around. So speaking my truth is one way of facing down my demons. And fear is like the main thing that plagues me, I think, especially after my mother died. It was like fear of dying, because I was like, oh my God, that's my whole immediate family. Like my mother, my father, my brother, I'm next. My brain was like, you're next. Run. So like for years it would be like, oh my God, I have a common cold. It's lung cancer. I have a headache. Oh my God, it's a tumor. Like I turned into a hypochondriac. So like one of that fear demon is a killer, a dream killer. And taking deep breaths and just saying, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Like I literally can't control it. And letting go of things I can't control is another way, in my opinion, of how I fight my inner demons every day. I'm never taken medication for my severe anxiety disorder because I'm sure that's what the hell it is. I just calm myself down in those moments. And now I know how to, like, when I feel it coming on, if I feel like a panic attack coming on for whatever reason, I have to breathe and just take myself and just accept how strong my mind is. And I've read so many books about how the power of the human mind and the ancient Egyptians and how they used to, so I try to tap into that at those moments, because that's when it's necessary for you to do that. Tap into my inner strength as a cosmic woman and to tap into it and attack it head on at that moment. Whereas like 5 or 6 years ago, I was not able to do that. It was debilitating. Mm. So yeah, I mean, those are the 3 things I'd say. Like I attack it head on. I communicate freely.
So we talked a little bit about Taylor and Hove, the planning and branding firm, but you also have a sister company, Sugar Taylor Company. And I want to know if you can tell us a little bit more about that, because it's something that is fairly new, right? With the earrings.
So the earrings started out as like a funny, kind of like a joke, right? Because someone asked us to do a pop-up. And I was like, what am I going to sell with this laser cutter at a pop-up? And I was like, it's all women. And like, what would they want? Earrings. So I was like, oh, let's just make some. I had all this like these crazy samples of acrylic laying around. So I put some really wild looking earrings together, because I am all about fashion, but like thrifty fashion.
Okay.
I love fashion. And I was like, oh, I started making like a pair of earrings to match every outfit because I went crazy. And then that kind of just turned into like everybody who saw them, like from out in the store, they're very sellable, like in person, especially because they're just bright and big. So people would be like, where'd you get those earrings? And I was like, I make them, but I'm not selling them yet. So I threw them on my website kind of to see, but they've been doing really well. I haven't really had to promote them too much. Looking for some more little pop-ups to sell them at. That was just a project. It's not really like a primary function of my company. Okay. I just wanted a place where I could do exactly that. Make whatever the hell I want to make on whatever whim I'm on and sell it on a shop. So I sell like art prints on there. I'm really interested in doing some more commission, like illustration work. I love doing that. I have the earrings on there, and I'm about to start selling, like, because of the interior design, start selling some like home decor, small home decor, like unique lamps. Like I just designed like all right, fine. I didn't really design it. It's something I found online that was like $10,000. And I was like, I can make that. But
That's how it all starts.
It's like a cool pendant lamp that I'm making for one of the restaurants I'm designing right now. Soul Taco. Go check it out. St. Richmond.
I know. I love a good taco. I have to come out there real soon.
Yes. And it's soul food in a taco. I mean,
you can't get no better than that.
It's so good. So yeah, designing their pendant lamps. I'm doing things that inspire me as I go. And that's what you'll find in my shop. So I may be selling earrings this month and then get over it in 3 months. And that's it. Whatever I sold.
Right.
That was the point of my Sugar Taylor company, because I didn't want the pressure of designing for clients, unless it's interior design, because my interior design clients fall under Sugar Taylor company. And I didn't want any of the constraints, because who knows, with all of this creative energy I have flowing, like it's like where I pour my excess creative energy, right? Like if on the weekend I do a painting, I might turn around and sell it on the website. So it's making money and it's fun and it's free. There's no pressure. There's no, I need to scale this and hire 1 million, like that. I don't want that. I just want to have, that's going to be my creative outlet company. And I want to actually start hosting. And I recently thought about this in the shower. I don't know why it was relevant to tell you it was in the shower.
But that's where all the best thoughts.
Like, this is going to happen tomorrow.
all the best thoughts happen in the shower. I'm a believer of that.
Girl, listening to some 90s jams. So I was like, wow, it would be fun to, because I was thinking my birthday's coming up. I was like, ooh, it would be fun to host my own paint and sip where I'm the teacher. Like, right? Like, how fun would that be? Then I was like, wow, what if I started hosting my own kind of like art therapy classes for creatives who want to turn their anxiety and what they're going through into art. And like one class could be about doing macrame.
Yeah.
One could be about painting. One could be like whatever whim I'm on. Once again, me and my whims, that would be the focus of that group. And people would obviously just like pay for the materials.
Yeah.
And we would have like a workflow healing session and like talk and just have like make art and talk.
I love that.
Wouldn't that be fun?
It would be so much fun.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to call it a glow up or anything like that. I just want it to be organic people coming together to talk and network in an artful way and just kind of heal together.
I love that.
You never know who you're going to meet.
Yes, please.
That. Yeah, I am. I was just looking at my calendar to pick out the first date, and I'll probably drop it on my Sugar L. Taylor page on Instagram. And I don't care if 5 people come. I don't care if 30 people come. I just want it to be like an organic, it is what it is type of situation.
Right. No, I love that. I can't wait to come, because I just feel like as a creative, I don't know. I want to tap more into my other creative outlets. I don't feel like I do that enough. I feel like I'm in this box and I just want to be able to explore more of what that would look like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We all do. And, I was thinking, I know so many creatives. I could get different artists to actually host it where they're teaching us something. I want to learn something too. Yeah. And just like, I'm really forming the idea as I speak, because it was just something I came up with. But I want to be able to, in person, connect with people and hear their stories. Like, I don't want to talk about myself all the time. I want to hear other people's stories, and maybe there's some advice I can give them. I've always been I'm in tune with people. Like, actually, one of my neighbors drove by my house today, and I swear to God, her energy was so heavy. I texted her and I was like, is everything okay? I was like, your energy was real heavy when you drove by my house. She was like, who are you? Turns out she's going through some shit, So wow. I'm like, hey, come over for some wine.
Right.
So, yeah. That's me. I think that's part of my purpose too, is to heal and connect with people.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be so dope. I mean, the people that you will help them to heal, to be able to know that, wow, they're going through this art therapy, if you will. Mm-hmm. And, they are able to connect with someone who's going through the same thing. It may not necessarily be your story, but it may be somebody next to them.
Yeah.
Maybe they are afraid of going to therapy, and maybe they, it can be so many things, but the fact that you're doing it and putting yourself out there to do that is just phenomenal.
Thank you. You're going to get the first invite. It's going to be me and you, but that's it.
Yeah, we got to make sure we have some wine and some tacos, okay?
Always.
Always. And I'll bring my camera.
Oh, yeah.
I'll bring my camera. No, that's going to be fun. So we didn't tap into the interior design, and I saw how you lit up when you talked about your interior design work. So I want to know a little bit more about that side of the house for your business.
Well, so it started with an branding client of ours with Taylor and Hove. I had just finished his branding project, and it was just like a series of like printed materials and like really creative gift boxes for his company to do some marketing. And he came to pick up something from my house, and he was like, "Oh, by the way, who's your interior designer? Like, I want to call her because I need the space done. Now we just got the first kitchen." And I was like, "Interior design? Who hires interior design?" I was like, "What?
You paying for that?"
I was like, "Please, this is all West Elm and anthropology, and that's it." So he asked me, he was like, "Would you be willing to design my space?" And I was like, "I'll let you know right now, I don't know anything about interior design, but I will study it for the next 30 days and get back at you." No, but I mean, I understand concepts of the design. I've been doing event design. It's the same thing. It's just permanent and it's with furniture. Like, let's be honest. And there's obviously more to it with the math. I'm not trying to demean anyone's career, but I studied like the things I felt like I would need to know to design an industrial kitchen / office space. And I did his kitchen, his tasting kitchen and stuff. And it had a lot of challenges, obviously, with my first interior design project. But then that turned into people going to the space and saying, "Who did your interior design?" And I realized quickly I only want to do retail and small businesses. I don't really touch residential design unless it's a project I just have to be involved in. And it lights me up because it's so fun. Like, okay, event design, right? I love doing event design, but it's there for like those 8 hours, and then you watch them tear it all down. And you're like, that was a year's worth of work.
Torn down in 20 minutes.
Yeah, and there have been times when I've been crushed because I've done some dope designs, and then the photographer missed all the good angles. And I'm like, this doesn't look like what I designed because you didn't photograph it well. So with interior design, it's there to stay. And it's a permanent like state, more semi-permanent, people change in a few years, but it's a statement that's it's art that stays. And I think that's kind of what excites me about it. And I love telling unique stories in the objects that I create for the spaces to make it personal to each client. Like that first tasting kitchen, I had these crazy ideas to make like pendant lights out of old milk bottles because the company is called Spilled Milk. Like the glass milk bottles, they're all like lights, then they hang out of this pendant light. And that type of stuff, like I love thinking of that type of unique stuff. I can't do that in somebody's house, you know?
Right, exactly. You're very limited in that.
You're very limited in people's houses, and you're, their taste level ain't at your waist level. It's very hard.
Wait a minute. I cannot with you.
It's very hard to wrap your head around it. And, I think with retail, it's like, here's my branding board. Here are the colors. Here's the style and the energy I'm going for. Go with it. And I'm like, I love it.
Oh, that sounds so much fun.
It is fun.
Oh, man. Well, I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I can laugh with you all day. But we will do that soon over wine and tacos, yes. I'm sure.
Yes.
But before we go, can you tell us how we can stay connected with you after the show?
Yes. You can follow Sugar L. Taylor and Taylor and Hove on Instagram. And that's pretty much it. Like, I'm not really on too many other social networks. Like I said, I try to keep that stuff limited.
No, and what's your website?
And my website is sugartaylor.co and taylorandhove.com.
Oh, awesome. Oh, I'm going to have to see about getting Nara on the show.
Oh, you would love it.
That would be awesome.
Reach out to her.
I'll definitely have to reach out to her. All right. Thanks so much. And I'll be seeing you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Purpose to Create podcast. Share, like, comment, or review this episode. Check out the show notes at www.purposetocreatepodcast.com and connect with us online at Purpose to Create.